Good day, class. Today we'll be doing Digital Media Convergence 2, Lesson 4. Lesson title is Lesson 1 to 3 Recap. We'll be doing a few case studies, and then we will be doing a short briefing on your formative assessment 1. There will be a separate video with more detail on how to do your assessment, what to prepare, and how you'll access it. So to recap Lesson 3, develop the personal ability to constantly be critically aware of causes and implications of change within digital media convergence, and then develop their critical thinking ability needed to operate effectively in an ever-changing digital media environment. The objectives of today's lesson is you'll be participating in a short quiz to test your understanding of the concepts covered in Lesson 1 to 3. We'll review the formative assessment 1 brief or relevant preparation. Again, it's going to be a very short one. There is a separate video with more detail. And then we will develop critical thinking skills and the ability to express opinions according to correct academic conventions, relate theoretical knowledge to everyday life by discussing case studies. All right, so this is your first question. What are the 5 dimensions of digital media convergence? As this is obviously a recording, we will just move through it swiftly. So the answer for that is, these are the 5 dimensions for digital media convergence. It is technological, industrial, social, textual, and political. Question 2. Give a short description of the 5 digital media convergence dimensions. So of course it's relating to the 5 that we have just seen. And here are your answers. Technical convergence, the result of digitization of media content and the internet. Industrial conversion involves established media engagement in the digital space and the rise of companies like Google, Apple, Microsoft as significant content providers. Social convergence is the rise of large social network media and the growth of user-created content. You can think of apps like TikTok. And then you get textual convergence, known as transmedia storytelling, is an approach in which stories are told across different platforms to be used and remixed and spread further. Political convergence. Digital media convergence has added challenges for policymakers to ensure diversity of ownership and content regulated on the basis of community standards. Then business convergence. Digital media convergence benefits the paid, earned, shared, and known media model. Using more than one medium enables brands to reach customers when, how, and where they want. Moving on to question 3. Give 2 examples of digital media convergence. Here I've given you a few. The first is obviously our smartphones. So this can be digital, this is converged with including cameras, music, the internet, books, and all other media. Online radio and podcasts, converging radio with the internet. Then ebooks, converging paperbacks with digital technology, also things such as ebooks that are read to you. That's also quite an interesting one. And then use websites and apps. Question 4. What are the 3 C's of convergence? Name and discuss them. So the answers to question 4 is obviously content, corporations, and computers. So content refers to the messages and the specific medium in which these messages are created. Content in media convergence ensures that the right message reaches specific people at specific times across various platforms. Corporations are the companies that interact to create and distribute content. Media organizations collaborate with corporations to diverse their services and operate across various distinct industries. Computers are used by corporations to create and distribute content. Computers and smartphones have digitized content and changed the process of communication and the way content is generated and distributed. Moving on to question 5. This is a 3-part question. So what is new media? What is traditional media? And give 2 examples for both, which is, of course, new media and traditional media. The answers to question 5. Traditional media is, for examples, television, radio, newspapers, and other print publications are generally pre-produced and scheduled, distributed in a closed system through a one-way conversation on a paid platform. So this one-way conversation is vital when we're looking at causation of digital media convergence and obviously why it is somewhat outdated. New media. Mass communication using digital technology such as the internet are generally a two-way conversation. Again, that's quite important. In an open system in real-time creation on free platforms. So a few examples of new media is things such as TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, etc. Question 6. What is convergence of devices? What is convergence of solutions? And what is network convergence? The answers to question 6. Convergence of devices. Any medium in which two or more forms of communication are integrated. So we can look at the mobile phone, which has radio with MP3 player, also books on your phones, etc. These are two devices that have now come into one. Convergence of solutions. Standardization of network access procedures, processes, and applications. So for example, you research a restaurant on Google and you want to go there, so of course you click on the address and automatically you are prompted that your Google Maps app on your phone opens. Network convergence, the use of multiple communication modes on a single network. For example, telephone networks can transmit data and video and other data. So moving on to our case study, we're going to look at MediaMark embarks on digital transformation journey. Here is the link for the full interview. Please make sure that you click on that and read through it. Here's a short summary of what has been discussed. So it's they are a sales house, a media sales house. MediaMark connects advertisers with these audiences through relationships that matter and solution-driven results that count. They plan to diversify and include digital properties in our portfolio. We embarked Radmark, which was the original name of MediaMark, a company with a heritage of more than 15 years of radio sales, and of course it became MediaMark. So here's more information on the article. Radical changes in economic and social norms have forced the media and advertising industry to shift in multiple directions at breakneck speed to act faster, become more agile, and remain relevant. Digital transformation is at the center of this shift and is about finding the right tech which has the potential to make the future of work better than business as usual. True digital transformation requires deep change, including cultural and structural, hard work, patience, and commitment of an entire organization from top to bottom. So having read through the article and looking at the highlights, answer the following question. Why is it an important shift/move for the sales house to make? So for them to move from purely doing radio sales as a sales house, moving into finding solution, innovation of media, etc. Why is it important for them to do this? Moving on to our next case study. Who can guess who owns all of these companies? So of course, if you zoom in, you'll see each little circle is a company and it's owned by an umbrella. And then of course that umbrella has little ones over here. So here in the top left corner, you can see Marvel Studios and there's a little Iron Man, and then it probably has all the franchises in there, etc. I'm sure you can all recognize this ship and of course this face that can be assumed to be Star Wars orientated. And of course we'll have all the franchises and sub-franchises included in there. And then of course here's a lovely castle. And I'm sure you can all guess what's within those franchises, and so forth and so on. As you'll see, if you look closely, you can then see how it's all divided into. And the bigger picture of it, and of course there's also the outliers over here, the bigger picture of it should give you a hint as to who would own all of these companies. Okay, So if you guessed Disney, based on the fact that Marvel Studios, Star Wars, and obviously the Disney castle in the picture, and of course the entire picture would look like Mickey Mouse's face. All those companies are owned by Disney. So again, here I've linked the article for this Disney discussion. Please click on it and read through it. I have included a few highlights over here. So the article title is Current Issues in Media Management. So Disney has been a very popular source of media for decades. I'm sure you can all remember times where you watched a Disney movie or a series of Disney on Cartoon Network or anything like that, even their franchising onto clothing, etc. Disney has also bought a lot of media companies, and the size of what they own is being added to their own streaming site with their new streaming site of Disney Plus. So I'm sure we're all aware of the new craze that is Disney Plus. If you have it, lucky you. So Disney Plus is a prime example of the issue with media convergence. So that's an interesting statement that it's an issue. So we will obviously discuss that a little bit further. So here's more highlights from the article. Please again go and read it. So Disney taking their own content away from HBO, Netflix, and even Hulu. They have created a massive streaming source that will fight against competitors and the streaming platforms they have stock in. So, for example, looking at things like Marvel and Star Wars, etc., those are extremely beloved franchises, and they own the right to those. So, if they are taking them away from companies and streaming industries such as HBO, Netflix, and Hulu, that means the only way that we will be able to access that content is by going through Disney themselves. So not only are they creating the content and owning the content, but they are now also monopolizing on how you can access the content. This convergence with other networks makes them untouchable by any competitor, especially when they withdraw the content they own. So again, they're forcing you to go through their Disney Plus platform, thus monopolizing their own content. So Disney is also dabbling in the sports realm, working with ESPN. So we'll obviously have to wait and see if that materializes. But if Disney Plus gets, for example, sports included on their platform, then it will really be an all-inclusive platform, thus again monopolizing that industry. The problem with Disney owning so much is there isn't any diversity in their media. Having only one source of media creates a monopoly on what information and entertainment audiences receive. So of course, from a business perspective, monopolizing any industry is great, but from a consumer's endpoint, it is concerning in that Disney does tend to have a reputation of a lack of diversity in the history, of course, of their new movies such as Moana, etc. They are branching out into creating not only more diverse characters, but also more diverse and relatable stories. But it is still a concern that not only are they able to control the creation of the content and the distribution of the content, but they are also monopolizing that, which allows for very few outside input onto the creation and the spreading of their content itself. It also means that there is less regulation from a public perspective and from an outside regulatory bodies. So the content that they create and put out is obviously regulated by their own standards. This can prove to be challenging, but of course we also need to understand that Disney is an international, well-reputed company, and of course I don't believe that they would ever do anything to jeopardize the opinion of the public on their content and what they've created, especially in today's day and age. So touching so much of the media industry makes it very difficult for new content to come through. So that is also a concern. Multiple animators or directors, etc., who aren't involved with Disney may never get the audience and the traction on the content that they've created purely based on the fact that they are not involved with Disney. Thus, Disney is also starting to monopolize the resources of content creation and the supply of good content creators, in that although they may not want to work with Disney, it is also the only viable option for them to go about in becoming recognized and things like that, and to work with franchises that are beloved for them, such as Marvel, Star Wars, or any Disney-owned franchise. Okay, so a question based on the Disney case study. What's your opinion on the statements made in the blog? So, of course, you've gone and read through it. I did highlight a few key points for you, but I'd love to hear your statements on the blog. It's definitely something to think about. Case studies are extremely important for your first assignment, so please take note of not only interacting with the content that we have provided, but also interacting with your own opinions and your own conclusions that you can draw from the statements made in the blog. So please make sure that you answer this question on your own or during your lecture. Okay, moving on to our third case study, radio tunes in the social virtual reality. Okay, again, I have linked the article over here for you. Please click onto it and go take a look. This article is related to our local radio station, Jacaranda, and here are a few highlighted points from the article. If you look at how the industry has grown, a bouquet of digital arms, and adopted online events to facilitate social experiences that are completely virtual now. So, of course, everyone is aware of the effects of COVID-19 and the fact that the majority of our life had to move online and onto virtual platforms. So this is obviously a comment on how Jacaranda, a radio station who can be accessed from a distance, you don't need to be there in person, has now moved into the virtual world online. Not only do they have a website, but they also created an entire hunt around this. So from our homes to the car, to work, and even places where we shop, radio has been our constant companion for decades. Jacaranda FM recently created another space to meet consumers where they are. Our solution was Nzanzi's Quest, a free online game where players traveled through iconic South African places, collected virtual artifacts in the hopes of winning the grand prize of 50,000 Rand, and connected with over 10,000 other people doing the same quest. Alright, so basically you could hop onto your laptop, enter into this quest, roam around, find things, all in the hope of winning money, and also you'd then socialize with other people who are playing the game, maybe even help each other out. Okay, a few more highlights. So subtitle in the article is VR allows for connection to be multi-dimensional. So VR is, of course, virtual reality. I'm sure we're all familiar with VR headsets, etc. So VR can overcome natural constraints and present things that would not be visible in the physical world where we can't be social. So for example, during COVID, we were unable to be social, and VR allowed us to be social, obviously on a virtual platform, but also it allows for challenges and for you to travel to places. So here again, they emphasize on that. Connection is about resonating with what is around you, which is why Mzansi Quest not only facilitated interpersonal connection, meaning that you could speak to other players, etc., but connection with familiar landscapes and iconic places in South Africa we haven't been able to necessarily visit. So that could be you haven't been able to visit due to COVID regulations, or because you actually just have never been there, and you could now walk around in somewhat of a virtual version of it and explore the area. So that is quite interesting. I think that's quite fun for people who haven't had a chance to travel and are looking to travel. It could almost be like a trial run to see if you'd be interested in going. So the data points towards virtual reality. The data showed that our listeners are streaming more radio and spending more and more time listening and engaging on mobile devices. So our litmus test, what do our listeners need, was answered. So this was almost to justify their digital media convergence move in moving from not only radio to website, but also from websites to virtual reality. South Africans want better online engagement, and VR can offer a deeper extension of what the brand is already doing digitally. So of course they already have competitions and interactions that they have on their website and even on the radio when they put callers together or they let callers call in and they discuss things with that interaction. But this has definitely moved us into a new realm where we can socialize using their platform but not necessarily directly with them. Instead, we can socialize parallel to them, but they are facilitating it. So that is quite interesting. And then VR puts the power in the user's hands. Virtual reality is all about the end user, and one aspect that really stood out for me was the anti-cyberbullying measure that we created. So of course, this is in their article. They created an anti-cyberbullying measure. If anyone in Mzansi Quest was bothering you, you simply had to select their name from a drop-down menu and you disappear from their feed as quickly as they disappear from yours. So it's the same concept as unfriending someone on Facebook or Instagram or blocking them. You're unable to find them, they're unable to find you, and it puts a quick stop to any harassment or cyberbullying that had happened. So obviously, with regards to the article that we've just covered, I hope that you went and clicked on it, maybe explored it a bit further and read through the highlights that I gave you. Why did Jacaranda include VR in their offering? So basically, in their experience, in their article, etc., etc. What is virtual reality? What is VR? And then as well as the power of VR to the consumer. So why was all of this included in their offering and things like that in their discussion? Why would they include that into their move to become more innovative? So we're quickly going to look over your first assessment again. As I said, this is a quick little rundown. There is a separate video for a more detailed one. So the dates of your assessment, it'll start on the 10th of September at 8 in the morning. And it will close on the 16th of September, 1 minute before midnight. Your assignment will be a total of 50 marks, and you will have 2 hours to complete your assignment. You will have only one attempt to complete this timed assignment. So that means that once you've logged in to do the assignment, you need to complete it. You're unable to log out. And also once your 2 hours have been met, you will then, it'll automatically submit and save whatever it is that you have completed. So all questions are compulsory and must be completed on the Cole campus individually. So this is obviously an online test and you'll be able to access it through Cole campus. What you'll need to prepare is the work that we have covered in lessons 1 through to 12. Also module 1, module 2 and the first part of module 3 again. That's all covered in your first 12 lessons. You must use all prescribed reading, case studies, class slides, pre-recorded lectures, and engagement activities during your preparation. So engagement activities could be homework or questions or activities that we facilitate with you in our lectures. Again, I did give you guys a little golden nugget there earlier, so please make sure that you pay attention to these things. All right, so the structure of your assignment is, again, it's 50 marks. The first section is 20 marks and your second section is 30 marks. Your first section is 20 marks worth of multiple choice, so you can expect a minimum of 20 questions. And then section B is 30 marks of discussion and application questions. So please ensure that you are prepared for argumentative essays, short essays, discussions, etc. Okay, and important, the online assessment needs to be completed in one sitting. Once you've logged in, you cannot log out. So logging out will include running out of data, your internet connection going in and out, or load shedding, power cuts, anything like that. So please make sure that you are prepared to sit down and do your assignments. All right. And that is the end of our lesson. This is what you will need to look at and what you can look forward to in your next lesson. In lesson 5, we will be doing understand and discuss the 4 forms of media convergence: technological, business, professional, and content. Supply examples of the 4 forms of media convergence. Here is a short little description that we would like for you guys to read. We will be covering it, but please make sure that you read these 5 pages in preparation of the next lesson. And then also please watch this video that we have linked on YouTube for preparation of technology convergence. That is very important. And then of course here is another small little link that you guys can follow and go and read just a short little thing just for you to become familiar with the content and so that you can come to class with questions. So thank you very much for joining me, and good luck working through all of the content. And if you guys have any questions, please be sure to reach out to your relevant lecturers. We have provided email addresses. You can also contact us on Cole Campus, etc. Thank you very much.